The Sphere. Prologue. I'm Jeff Wright. I have a story for you. I live in a suburb of Portland, Oregon called West Hills. I have an excellent view of Mount Hood. It is a fairly large home with a manicured lawn. I don't do the lawn. I hire people to do that. Not illegals, I'm pretty sure. But people are people. I don't feel that I am any better than the people that do my lawn, just luckier, a lot luckier. I was born into a prosperous family. I did not get everything handed to me. I worked hard in medical school. I work for a pharmaceutical company in Portland. I am a research dermatologist. I was involved in the development of one of the medicines that can really help psoriasis. So I may not be rich, but I do make a good paycheck. I have a Beamer and a Honda CR-V parked in my garage. The house next door is much like mine. I have a swimming pool in the backyard. They have a hot tub. If you drive around my neighborhood, you would see Beamers, Mercedes, Audis, and many upper mid-range cars. So let me introduce you to some of the main characters in my story. There is my wife, Susan. She is a school teacher. She doesn't have to work, but she enjoys it a lot. My son, Jeff Jr. is 9 and my daughter Katrina, Katie, 15. My son is a preteen, and my daughter is a 100% teenager. I love them to death, most of the time, no, all the time. My best friend, James Kelly, Jim, lives next door in the house with the hot tub. He is a doctor. Of course he drives a Mercedes. His wife, Jillian, Jill, is a stay-at-home mom. They have 2 children, Roberta, Bobby, is 10, and William, Billy, is 14. Our kids and theirs are very close, going back and forth from our house to theirs, all the time. We have game night and or dine at each other's house about twice a month. James hires the same people to do his lawn that I do. I don't have to worry about Billy and Katie. He is a year younger than her, so she never considers him for boyfriend material. Chapter 1. Susan and Jeff were walking around their West Hills neighborhood, as they did several times a week. They looked at Mount Hood in the distance. That picturesque vista was one of the reasons they bought a home in West Hills. They walked by Dr. Kelly's home next door to theirs. As they walked up to the front of their house, thwack. Something hit Jeff in the head. He fell to his hands and knees. Ouch, what the hell was that? Susan ran over to his side and said, "Let me look at your head." She pulled the hair away from his head. "I don't see any blood, let's go in the house so I can take a better look." Jeff said, "What was that? A bullet? Let me look for it on the ground." He started feeling around the ground. Under a leaf he found a silver sphere. It was about 2/3 inch in diameter. He felt it. It was completely smooth. He said, "I found it." And put it in his pocket. "It looks like a ball bearing. Maybe it fell from a plane, or a UFO?" He got up and Susan helped him go into the house. She took him to the bathroom and turned on the light. She looked closer at his head. She said it didn't break the skin, but there is a bump where it hit. "Do you want to go to the emergency room?" "No," Jeff said. "I don't think that is necessary tonight, but after I get to work tomorrow, I'll call Dr. Kelly. I am sure he can get me in." "Okay," said Susan, "but make sure you do, you might have a concussion. And take that sphere with you for the doctor to look at." Jeff went to the bedroom. He took the sphere out of his pocket. He looked at it closer and thought, it really does look like a large ball bearing. He laid it into a tray on his bedside table. He then went to the bathroom and did nighttime bathroom things, then went to bed. He and Susan both had to be at work tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Chapter 2. He was standing outside his house. He could hear hail hitting the ground. He looked closer at the hail. It was silver and he realized, it was ball bearings. He tried to dodge them, but for some reason, they weren't hitting him anyway. He felt a presence around the side of the house. He could tell it was evil. It was coming closer. He ran back to the house and tried to open the door. It was locked. The presence was getting closer. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. He searched for his phone, but he didn't have that either. He started to pound on the door. He yelled Susan. He heard her calling to him on the other side of the door. The presence grabbed him by the shoulders and started to shake him hard. "Jeff," Susan said. He opened his eyes and felt Susan shaking him. "Wow," Jeff said. "It's a dream." Susan gasped, and asked, "What were you dreaming about?" He said, I was dreaming I was in a hailstorm, but the hail turned out to be ball bearings. Well, we know why you dreamed that. Try to go back to sleep, don't dream anymore. She kissed him on the cheek and turned over to go back to sleep. The next morning, Jeff woke up before Susan. He went to the bathroom and did morning bathroom things. When he was done, he walked back into the bedroom. He looked at the bedside table. He remembered the dream he had last night, then he remembered the sphere. He felt his head and felt a pretty good lump on his head. It was sore. He looked down at the tray on the bedside table. The sphere was gone. He looked around on the floor. He thought maybe he had knocked it off from thrashing during his dream. He couldn't find it. He looked closer at the tray and saw what looked like sand. Not enough to match the mass of the sphere, but still, suspicious. He pinched a little to see what it felt like. It felt like sand. His fingertips started to tingle. That was strange. He went to the bathroom and washed his fingers. It helped, but his fingers still tingled a little. Susan woke up and said, "Good morning. How do you feel?" He said, "My head hurts to the touch, and I do have a headache, but not too bad." "Hun, did you do anything with the ball bearing?" "No, the last I know, you had it," she said. Jeff said, "Well, I laid it on the tray on my bedside table, and this morning it's gone. I looked on the floor but I could not find it. Maybe it flew back to the UFO." "Yeah, I am sure that is what happened. Don't forget to call the doctor when you get to work, and call me when you find out anything." "I will, I just won't have the sphere to show him." Chapter 3. Once Jeff got to his office, he called Dr. Kelly and made an appointment for 2 p.m., then he took his briefcase into the lab. He took out the envelope. He noticed the bristles on the brush he had used to brush the sand into the envelope were deteriorated. He put some of the sand on a slide and put it under the microscope. He looked into the microscope expecting to see silicon sand, and that is exactly what he saw. He put the sand on the slide back in the envelope. Now he was stumped. He must have knocked the ball bearing on the floor and it rolled out of sight. He rubbed the bump on his head and went about his work until time to go to his doctor's appointment. He had a light lunch and then headed out. Jeff walked into the office and shook hands with his neighbor. Dr. Kelly said, "Jeff, I'm glad you came in. I am kind of worried about what happened to you. Please tell me exactly what happened." Jeff told the doctor everything that had happened, including the ball bearing missing, and the sand. Dr. Kelly said, "Well, that's quite a story. Let me look at the wound on your head and we will decide what to do then." The doctor pulled Jeff's hair back and examined the lump on his head. "Well, as your wife said, the skin is not broken. I believe that the object hit a glancing blow to your head. If it had been a direct hit, I don't think you would be here today. At the least we need to do a scan of your head to rule out a concussion." The doctor led Jeff back to the scanning machine and had Jeff lie down. It took about 15 minutes to complete. The doctor led Jeff back to his office. He sat behind his desk and had Jeff sit in a chair in front of his desk. He typed on his computer. He turned the monitor so Jeff could see it. A picture of Jeff's head appeared on the screen. The doctor rotated the wheel on his mouse and the picture moved through Jeff's head. When the doctor got all the way through the picture, he turned to Jeff. "I know you don't understand what you are seeing, but everything looks fine. If there were a concussion I would have seen some discoloration, but there was nothing. So no concussion, or anything else. Perfectly normal. I am sure you have a headache, so you can take some over-the-counter medication. It should get better in a few days," the doctor said. Jeff asked if the light in the office was brighter than usual. The doctor said, "That is probably from getting hit on the head. It can make you oversensitive to light. As far as I'm concerned, you are perfectly healthy." "Thank you so much, doctor. Susan will be relieved," Jeff said. "Say hi to Susan, and we should get together very soon," said the doctor. Jeff thanked him again. Went out to the receptionist and paid his co-payment. He jumped into his Beamer and drove back to work. Jeff parked in the parking lot of his building. He walked into his office. He took off his coat and put on a lab coat. Then he went to the lab.